Hello, hello, and welcome everyone to Overtime, the rundown. So let's see what's been going on in the last week. It's been very interesting. Reuters is reporting that medical teams are having difficulty immunizing Brazil's remote indigenous population in the Amazon. Tribal leaders are blaming Brazil's far-right president, Jair Bolsonaro, along with a number of his supporters in the evangelical community. The groups most resistant to getting vaccines are the ones that have most recently been visited by or proselytized to by religious fundamentalists and evangelical ministries who have been universally preaching against the vaccine, saying that it's dangerous and that it's untested, and I assume they also have, obviously, religious objections. President Bolsonaro has routinely been claiming that the vaccine is dangerous, and despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, and despite the considerable damage that has been done to countries that have not taken the vaccine, such as the United States. I am aware that we do appear to have some lag. I will attempt to identify the cause. We ended up completely rebuilding our system over here, and it's up and running, which is good, but some of the original issues that we had once solved appear to have returned. So I will do what I can to minimize the lag. All right, you know what? I'm gonna pause for one moment and see if there's anything I can do. It's apparently really pretty serious. So give me 1 second. All, I appreciate your patience. It seems to have resolved itself, at least for the most part. It may also not be as strange as it sounds. It may not be an issue within time. I know. I was shocked too. But okay, there's at least one thing that is probably, yeah, that's contributing to it. All right. We'll take 1 second. I do apologize. I have to, yeah. It's one or two things that I am definitely eager to get to. KCA Randy, hello back. So I'm not going to be in the live chat, but I can read it. Yeah, it's unfortunately one of those things. I am well aware, and I am glad that religion provides comfort to so many people. I think if it provides that, great. And if some sort of metaphysical grounding in for human beings, for morality or whatever else that people feel it does, if that's necessary and helpful, you know what, great. I think that's marvelous. However, it does seem to come with a great many side effects, not the least of which is dogmatic beliefs that cannot be questioned and, start out with the assumption of being true. One of them being that vaccines and certain parts of science are anti-God, in particular because science questions things which religious dogmatists believe should not be questioned. If it weren't for that, hey, I'd have no real objection to religion. But in my view, that's a bit of a deal breaker. So 1 more second. I'm gonna try here to do everything I can about the lag. It is clear to me that some of this is actually not us. So, but some I suspect is. So I wanted to do everything I can to see if I can. There you go. With any luck, there you go. Okay. My suspicion is that the lag issues at this point should be largely resolved, not completely, but I think largely. All right, I do apologize for that. Thank you guys for notifying me, and let's get back to the rundown, shall we? In 2016, there was an Ebola outbreak in West Africa, killing 11,000 people. Ebola is one of the deadliest diseases known to man. It's actually, people think it's got a 100% mortality rate. It does not. The only disease actually known to have a 100% mortality rate is rabies. Ebola has over a 90% mortality rate and is obviously extraordinarily serious for that reason. What I'm going to do, actually, I think I'm going to, all right. We're waiting on possibly Vox coming in, but until I hear from her, I'm gonna shut down the the communications channel that lets her get into the stream until I hear from her. Just because at this point I'm doing everything I can to try to limit the lag. It seems to have come back a bit, so I'm just gonna. There we go. So we'll get it taken care of. Okay. So Ebola has about a 90% mortality rate. It is what is called a hemorrhagic fever. It causes you to bleed out of every orifice. Obviously, you get diarrhea, vomiting, all these other things. It's one of the more gruesome and horrific diseases known to man. And now we appear to be having another outbreak in Guinea. And the World Health Organization, which, according to Donald Trump, is really rather worthless, is sending people there now to attempt to stem the new Ebola outbreak. Right now, it's only known that I'm aware of, only 5 people have been known to be infected. It started with a nurse who died from it. She was cleansed in a ritualistic manner, which involved coming in close contact with the body as you wash the body and prepare it for burial. And 4 of the people involved in that process have now contracted Ebola. So hopefully we do have, since the last time that this happened in 2016, one of the things that the United States did was brought some Ebola patients to the U.S. We did it for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons was to study the virus more. Now, there were some pretty strong objections, especially in conservative camps, who said you can't bring it to the U.S. because it could get out and it could, you're endangering American lives. That's technically true that it could get out, but we have extraordinarily good means of dealing with this, and that's what the CDC is there for. That's their job, and that's how we study it. The studying of the 2016 disease is, in fact, a huge part of the reason why we have now some vaccines that we think may be effective against Ebola, and those vaccines will be deployed for the first time ever in Guinea as we try to contain that outbreak. That outbreak will not become another COVID issue. It's not going to go worldwide. One of the reasons is COVID, thankfully, is very fast and very deadly. And I say thankfully because that prevents it from spreading. When it kills the COVID or the Ebola patients so quickly that they have a very hard time getting out of East Africa and spreading it. They don't, they get obvious symptoms on an airplane. You start seeing blood coming out of their eyes. You know what the disease is. So it makes it very difficult for the disease to spread quickly, it spreads quickly. Difficult for it to spread long distances. It's just too lethal for that. That's one of the few blessings of Ebola. So we'll keep an eye on that. With any luck, some of the treatments, the experimental treatments, will work. At any rate, during the trial of Donald Trump, who was found not guilty in his Senate impeachment, the first president ever to be impeached twice, and now Donald Trump alone represents 1/2 of all the impeachments in the United States, or impeachments of a president, at least. One of his attorneys, Michael van der Veen, said that, quote, "At no point did the president know that the vice president was in danger on January 6th. However, this seems extraordinarily unlikely, and there are a couple of reasons why. First of all, the vice president had a Secret Service detail, and they believed he was in danger, and they would have reported back to the White House if there was any threat to the vice president, which there absolutely was at that time. They were in hiding, and they were trying to flee the building. There is no way that the Secret Service guarding him were not in constant contact with the entire Secret Service organization, especially the White House. The White House Secret Service would have told Trump immediately so that he could ignore it and choose to do nothing. You can't do nothing about something unless you are told and are given the chance to ignore it and do absolutely nothing about it. Otherwise, you can just use the excuse you didn't know. At any rate, moving on, we now know that a person close to former Vice President Mike Pence, somebody on his staff, has actually now told CNN that this is indeed what happens, and he knows for a fact that Trump had been notified by the Secret Service, who had been notified by Mike Pence's detail. That would mean that the attorney lied in the trial, which would be an a disbarable offense if, in fact, it was a judicial trial. It was not, so the rules are a little more murky, but whether or not he made an ethics violation may be investigated. At any rate, it is clear now that there is evidence that some of Trump's attorneys may have lied in his defense. I'll wait for all of you to recover from the shock of that one. Yeah, I think I may have replaced COVID and Ebola. I do apologize. We've also learned that House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy actually called then President Donald Trump to say that the U.S. Capitol was under attack. He told the president that rioters were breaking into his office through the windows. He informed Trump that these were his supporters, and he begged Trump to call them off. Trump's reply was, quote, "Well, Kevin, I guess the people are more upset about the election than you are." In January, nearly 80,000 Democrats left the Democratic Party. There's an ebb and flow, and in fact, after an election, you usually do see some losses in each party. The Republican Party has lost almost twice that many in the same period of time across 25 states, suggesting that there is, in fact, a pronounced effect on Donald Trump and the defense of him in the Senate against the impeachment charges. We are going to see, obviously, if anything else happens to the Republican Party, but that's actually a pretty staggering loss and well above the losses you'd normally expect to see after after an election. In fact, oftentimes you will see certain parties, losing parties, actually gain some immediately after the election because people say, "Oh shoot, I should have voted." At any rate, millions of Texans have been without power since Monday, as snow, ice, and frigid temperatures have caused a catastrophic failure in Texas's power grid. The Electric Reliability Council of Texas, or ERCOT, has declared a statewide power generation emergency in what is the worst power crisis in the state in a decade. And I'm going to interrupt here. Peter Booston, thank you, sir, very much. We sincerely appreciate your support. $5 in gold, British pounds. Wait, gold GB. Oh, dear Lord. GB British pounds. So it's got to be G. Oh, dear Lord. You'd think I'd know currencies better. I apologize. But 5. Good morning from the UK. Mr. Booston, thank you very much. Good morning to you, sir. It's 9 p.m. over here, but thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. So the ERCOT, which is the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, has declared a statewide emergency. And many people have been blaming the reusable energy, such as wind and thermal, which they say is unreliable and has become unreliable, especially in the winter. It was initially reported that the grid was powered largely by wind and natural gas, and that the turbines were not equipped to handle. The turbines are equipped to handle hot temperatures when demand for power goes up, but less effective in the wintertime, and that this Arctic blast knocked generators offline and froze turbines, so on and so forth. Now we're going to play a clip here on some of this. So let's start with this is green energy failure. Wind turbines freeze across Texas during a winter storm. This is, not surprisingly, Fox News. There was an interview held with the Texas governor. And let me see if I can get that up. Here we go. So this is Texas Governor Abbott discussing we'll make sure we should have sound here. So this is Governor Abbott discussing the power outage?
Oil, old-fashioned oil, and coal. I'm not against nuclear energy either. I'm not against wind turbines. But my question is, if they have these rolling blackouts and you got freezing weather, I mean, and they're not reliable and it's use it or lose it, what good is it?
Sean, this shows how the Green New Deal would be a deadly deal for the United States of America. Texas is blessed with multiple sources of energy, such as natural gas and oil and nuclear, as well as solar and wind. But you saw from what Trace said, and that is our wind and our solar got shut down, and they were collectively more than 10% of our power grid. And that thrust Texas into a situation where it was lacking power in a statewide basis, that was power that was spread out by that ERCOT organization that you were talking about. As a result, it just shows that fossil fuel is necessary for the state of Texas as well as other states to make sure that we will be able to heat our homes in the wintertime and cool our homes in the summertime.
All right. That was Texas Governor Abbott, who said a very interesting thing. He appeared to concur with the statement that the fundamental problem with the power grid was renewable energies, especially wind. However, he said something very interesting there, which is that all of those renewables actually make up only about make up only about 10% of their power. If it makes up only 10% of their power, how is it that losing that has caused a catastrophic failure across the entire state? So his statement even there does not appear to make a whole heck of a lot of sense. Ed Harris, who is an energy fellow at the Department of Economics in the University of Houston, has blamed the state's regulation of the power system. Actually, I should say deregulation, which does not properly reimburse, subsidize, or invest in power generators. And by power generators, I don't mean like the actual generators. I mean companies that generate power, organizations that are generating power for the state, to maintain and improve their power plants. The grid has, he said, quote, "The grid has collapsed in exactly the same manner as the old Soviet Union. It limped along on underinvestment and neglect until it finally broke under predictable circumstances. For more than a decade, generators," again, these are companies, "have not been able to charge what it costs them to produce the electricity. If you don't make a return on your money, how can you keep it? It's not like it's like taking care of your car. If you don't change the oil or the tires, you can't expect your car to be ready when you need to evacuate, or let alone when you need to get to work." This sentiment has now been echoed by a number of other organizations. The Texas Tribune has come out and said that, in fact, no, frozen turbines are not the main culprit in the Texas power outage. And they have confirmed that over 80% of the grid's winter capacity is generated by natural gas and nuclear. Yes, there is less wind coming from thermal and wind-powered generators. Yes, there's less power coming from wind-powered generators. But the vast majority of the losses haven't been in that 10%. There has been turbines that have failed, but actually most of the losses have been from natural gas. They've also confirmed that natural gas is producing far less electricity than it otherwise would at this time. Their gas output has been reduced, the electrical output has been reduced by nearly 40% because of infrastructure failures in the gas pipeline. That would not seem to comport well with either what is being said on Fox News or what this gentleman, what the governor has said on Fox about why renewables would be a death blow to the state of Texas. Former Governor Rick Perry has come out and said that Texans are in fact willing to suffer blackouts if it keeps the federal government out of the power market and keeps the market unregulated. In fact, Texas is one of only 2 states, to the best of my knowledge, that are not connected to a larger grid and have no backup and no other support systems if their own main grid fails. Rick Perry has said that Texans are willing to suffer the blackouts so long as it keeps the government out of the electrical market, and has, in essence, made a de facto admission that even if deregulation doesn't work, even if it makes problems worse, even if it is going to inevitably lead to catastrophic failures in the electrical grid, it is an absolute good in its own right, and for its own sake should be practiced. Doesn't matter whether it's what's best for the people of Texas. Meanwhile, Tim Boyd, the mayor of Colorado City in Texas, made a rather interesting statement. This is Tim Boyd right here. He put this out on Twitter. Again, he is the governor of Colorado City, Texas. He said, quote, "Let me hurt some feelings while I have a minute. No one owes you or your family. Nobody owes you or your family." Okay, I think he meant or. Nobody owes you or your family anything, nor is it the local government's responsibility to support you during trying times like this. Sink or swim, it's your choice. The city and county, along with power providers or any other services, owe you nothing. I'm sick and tired of people looking for a damn handout. If you don't have electricity, you step up and you come up with a game plan to keep your family warm and safe. If you have no water, you deal without it, and you think outside the box to survive and to supply water to your family. If you are sitting at home in the cold because you have no power, and you are sitting there waiting for someone to come rescue you because you are lazy, it is a direct result of your raising. I worked as a political operative for a while. I did suggest once to a candidate, actually for the running for the seat in the 3rd district out here, that questioning the parentage of your constituents isn't usually a good idea. You're lazy, and it's a direct result of your raising. Only the strong will survive, and the weak will perish. Texas ranks 41st, last I checked, in education, and they take far more money in taxes than they actually pay. They're the weak. The only reason they haven't perished is because they're part of a bigger country that actually gives a fuck about them, even though sometimes a number of them do tend to be assholes. But frankly, I'm with him on that one. They want to secede, cut them the fuck loose. They'll figure out who perishes really fucking quick. At any rate, I have a sore spot for Texas. Folks, God has given us tools to support ourselves in times like this. This, sadly, is a product of a socialist government where they feed people to believe that the few will work and the others will become dependent for handouts. Am I sorry that you have been dealing without electricity and water? Yes, but I'll be damned if I'm going to provide for anyone that is capable of doing it themselves. We have lost sight of those in need, and those that take advantage of the system and meshed them into one group. Bottom line, quit crying and looking for a handout. Get off your ass and go take care of your family. Bottom line, because there's 2 bottom lines, don't be a part of the problem. Be a part of the solution. Tim Boyd, the governor of Colorado City, Texas. In a subsequent post, Mr. Boyd apologized, but nonetheless resigned a short time later. In terms of people who could easily take care of themselves and who decided not to take this standing down, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas took his family, and they decided that they could better serve the citizens of Texas, not from their frozen home in Texas, which was also without electricity, but from their super-duper information command center, where they could most direct and help the relief efforts for Texas. The center is located in a resort, actually, I guess it's a private residence in Cancun. Yes, he flew to Cancun while his house and his neighbors all froze. He received serious pushback from that and returned on Wednesday. Um, he requested assistance at the airport because there were so many pissed off constituents that he needed help getting out of the airport in one piece. So, and in Myanmar, which we wanted to spend a little more time covering, but I think we're gonna hold off today. We haven't. I think that it's going to need its own show. But in Myanmar, protesters have started what is called a breakdown campaign. They have been breaking down in the middle of the streets. Their cars, they turn off the engines. Cars blocking all the streets. Buses, bicycles have been breaking down just right in the middle of the road. And this has significantly hampered the military's efforts to quell the anti-coup protesters. So we'll see what happens there. But that's Myanmar. And I know that I did have. So yes, I had a few people who wanted to speak to me about it, but we're not going to get to the whole thing in this show anyway. So we'll hold off on that. And last but not least, Rush Limbaugh has died. He died yesterday at the age of, I believe it was 70. And I think in my effort to try to deal with the lag, I may have shut a window I needed. So please hold 1 second. All right, I do apologize for that. I think I can get the. I'm hoping I can get the window back up. Let's see. Was this it? So, all right. Rush Limbaugh. He was a commentator. He was a AM and FM radio show host. I think Donald Trump called him legendary. I do think that's true. Rush Limbaugh has had a profound impact in U.S. politics, and in fact, it was recently said that Trump would never have been elected if it were not for Rush Limbaugh, and I think that that's probably true. Let's see. He has said a number of things that has been extraordinarily controversial. He's a conservative, but he's been a bit of a blowhard on top of just being a conservative. He wrote, as part of an article in the Sacramento Union, that the Earth's ecosystem is not fragile. Women should not be allowed on juries where the accused is a stud. And the Los Angeles riots were not caused because of the Rodney King verdict, but rather because of rioters. He said that Barack Obama was, in fact, not half African, but half African American, but rather half Arab as a result of having come from Kenya. He said, too, that if any race of people should not have guilt about slavery, it's Caucasian. The white race has probably had fewer slaves for a briefer period of time than any other race in history. When a young black caller called in, he said to her, quote, "Take that bone out of your nose and call me back." He, let's see, after a Georgetown law student was advocating for universal contraceptive coverage, he called her a slut and a prostitute. And I had a few more. I do apologize. There was some more. I don't have them by memory, and I unfortunately did close the window that had them. I'm going to actually try. Let me just see if. No, I'm not going to have it there. Anyways, he was a fan of Trump. He was I'm not sure that he was huge on conspiracy theories, but he certainly did add fuel to the fire on them. I'm not ever really glad when somebody passes. He was a father, so he had kids. He had a wife, and he had a family. But he was certainly extraordinarily caustic, and I think did a tremendous amount of damage to all sides. And so it's interesting to think he was a fixture that you thought was always going to be around. That wasn't necessarily a good thing, but he really was a fixture on American politics. Rush Limbaugh is dead from, I believe it was cancer, if I recall. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to check on the live chat, and I'm going to bring back. I took a few of our systems offline just in case one of them was causing the lag. So it's going to take me a second to bring it back up. Oh, there was a question that I had caught, and I slowed on it, but I wanted to. Is there going to be a revolution or a rebellion in the Republican Party? That's a good question. I've been predicting one of those since Bush, since W. I thought W was going to inspire it because the Tea Party was going to get him into trouble. Now the Tea Party has sort of morphed into the to manga and or manga, whatever. I can never pronounce it correctly. So I still think it's coming. I've just gotten the timing wrong. At least that's my view. That's what people who predict the end times say too. So take it with a grain of salt. But I think, I don't know that it's going to be a spectacular revolution. I think the party's going to split. I think the party's going to split reasonably hard. I think that because the presidency is a winner-take-all office, we cannot have a third party in this country. When you have a winner-take-all system, the smaller parties are naturally absorbed into the larger parties because the smaller parties can't get anything. The smaller parties can't get anything. A small party cannot win. And the large parties have no reason to give them anything because they can't give them anything in return. You can't, when you have a coalition government, as they do in the UK, then smaller parties can do something because if they can actually have some representation, this gives them some power. This means that people have to deal with them under certain occasions. Doesn't have to do that with a third party in this country. So what happens is you'll always end up, and we had a show on this, you will always end up with two parties in a winner-take-all system. Now, is the Senate winner-take-all? Depends. You can get into that. There are a few independents in the Senate and in Congress, but it still is, for the most part, a winner-take-all system, and that will naturally lead to a two-party system each and every time. I know of no way around it. Any split in the Republican Party is going to be reasonably temporary. I think you're probably looking at 10 or 15 years, and then they're going to get sick of losing. There's going to be a split. A whole bunch of Republicans are going to say, we don't like the way things have been running, and we're willing to lose if it means we don't have to be a part of this broken party. They leave, they lose, they lose, they lose again, and then they say, we'd really rather work with the original party again and figure out what we can do. And the original party says, yeah, come on board, and we'll hash something out. So you end up with a Republican Party that heals itself in one way or another. That is the most likely outcome. So you will see a split, but it's not going to be a revolution. Oh yeah, I know. Okay, it was Great British pounds. Great Britain pounds. Thank you, Porpoise. Of course, Porpoise knew that. Of course, Porpoise probably invented the currency, but nonetheless. So I think, Cheese Wizard. I wish I could highlight the thing. Thank you, Cheese Wizard. We really appreciate it. And you became a recent patron too. I think I saw you on there, which I sincerely appreciate. We haven't had a patron meeting. It's been a little challenging over the last week. Normally we have one in the first week of the show, but it's been a bit first week of the new year. New month. We're right now it is scheduled for this Monday, and we're going to let everyone know on the Discord. We're going to make an announcement on the channel in the community section, and we're going to make an announcement in the Patreon channel. Have a hangout. Come hang with me. Come hang with hopefully Vox and or Mowdy will join, and you can chat with us for an hour, and it's a lot of fun. And we steal a lot of borrow a lot of our ideas for future shows from patrons who are willing to talk to us. And it's, you know what, this show is, I was thinking about this earlier today, this show is very community driven. And it just ended up being that way. That wasn't as much by design as one might think. We just had a good community that started contributing, and we lucked out as a result. If you go to the news section on our Discord, you know, people are dropping news and news that's relevant, salient, and that, you know, oftentimes ends up in the show. And it's a huge part of how we collect and gather stuff for the show and figure out what it is that we're doing. And we're willing to talk to anybody and everybody about show ideas and going forward, but especially our patrons. So if you're interested in becoming a patron and supporting this show, if you like what we do, and if you, you know, because this also isn't easy and does take some financing, and it takes a lot of contributions from a lot of different people. So one great way to show your support is to become a patron. Another way is to hit that like and subscribe button, because yes, YouTube actually does. It has an influence on the metrics, and we're going to be, you know, we're going to start doing a push I think in a couple of weeks, we're going to start pushing on really growing the channel. You know, we had to get the interface stable. We had to get everybody knows. Fortunately, we don't have the sound problems of the early days, so we've got a lot sorted out. So I think we're going to start trying to grow, and the like and subscribe button always helps. So that's just a great way to also just easy way to support the show. So oh, and Sinister Porpoise. Okay, so it wasn't Porpoise who did the pound. It was her other. Yeah, what was the multiple personality joke? I don't remember, and I'm going to move on. This isn't din time. So we're going to keep an eye on all those stories. I do regret that Vox isn't here. I think she'd have a few things to say about the Texas power situation. For me, and Bregwin is okay. She's been she'd been without power for a while, but I think she's good. She was talking about it on our Discord, and I do know some people in that area, and it's been listen, Republicans, conservatives have some good ideas, and they're right about some things. I'm not going to sit there and say if it's a conservative idea, it's just dead fucking wrong. I will say this. I'm getting a little tired of conservatives saying that they're going to do things, trying things that everyone says isn't going to work. It doesn't work, and then they bail on it and say, oh, well, it wasn't really our fault, and then they try it again. I think it was Kansas and at least one other state, 2 states, decided to try to drastically cut back on taxes in order to increase the stimulus, to stimulate the economy. And they bankrupted their states. It was an objectivist it was either, it was an objectivist Don't know if you guys can hear me. I think there is now a sound issue. Of course, I say no sound issues. Oh, there we go. I think the sound is back. I don't know what that is. Thank you. Titan notified me that there was a sound issue, and I looked, and my microphone had completely lit up. I couldn't hear a thing. Of course, I got the big headphones on. I couldn't hear a thing, but all the sound lit up. Okay, it's run away. I don't know what Porpoise is doing, but she's really starting to get on my nerves. Yeah, all right, that's under control. Actually, I yanked we have a separate board to control vMix, and it lost power. It ran out of power, even though it's plugged in. For whatever reason, it just died. So maybe that caused a problem. Anyways, I reset the mic, and it seems to be good. So apologies for that. This objectivist and or Austrian economics, the neoliberal economics, this idea that, hey, if we just completely stay out of it and don't tax anybody anything more than the absolute minimum and yada, 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 and everything will be fine. has been shown not to work time and 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 time again. It doesn't work for the same reason socialism doesn't work. By the way, it's the same fucking reason. They're actually much closer in ideology than they are apart. They really are. You need a mixed economy. You need to do a little bit of different things for different. You cannot make anything that's based on the welfare of the people, which includes the prison system, it includes healthcare, it includes education. You cannot privatize that. You can't. You just can't. However, there are things you can't socialize either. So I like better cornflakes, and the way I get softer toilet paper, better cornflakes, faster cars, better computers is by socialism keeping its hands out of it. But that's all for another time. We see these governors trying really idiotic stuff to prove that these theories are correct, and they keep getting their asses handed to them on it. Texas has decided that they don't want anyone messing with Texas, so they're going to deregulate their grid. They are not going to pay or have any way that the electrical generators can be paid what the electricity is worth or what the actual, at least the minimum cost, so that these guys can break even. So they don't keep up the maintenance on any of the infrastructure. Infrastructure fails, and you get what you've got now. And because they are not hooked into the national grid, they're fucked. And they sit there and they talk about how, well, anybody who expects that they should get the electricity that they pay for is a socialist. Oh, I love Texas. All right. And Sammy Jenkins is back. Thank you for joining us, Sammy, Cheese Whiz, Peter. Let's see, Random Nobody's been, as we haven't seen you in a little while. You've come back. So thank you all for joining us. Interesting truth, everybody. So I'm going to, yeah, tell me about it. So we're going to get going. We have on Monday our patron hangout is planned. There will be more about that dropped on our Discord. So if you still time to join the patron, if you want to do that. Tuesday will be doing the Grievance Studies Project. Oh, dear Lord. If you liked Evergreen State and our topic about that, this is our next in the covering of sort of woke culture and where it's gone. So we attack the extremes on the right. We attack the extremes on the left too. So we're gonna be discussing the Grievance Studies Project on Tuesday, and we will be on standby if there's breaking news and any we'll be covering that. So like I said, we've been a little hobbled by some technical issues. So but we're good to go. So thank you all very much for joining us. By the way, I also am well aware that we had Dorito and Isandering on our Discord for 6 hours last night after the show with Dr. Richard Carrier. I am, in fact, planning on charging them rent because I'm from Texas, and even though I don't have to pay for the Discord, I'm going to charge people because Texas. Thank you all for joining us, and I look forward